What's up, guys? I hope you're well. Chadeo here. Today, we're checking out why don't F1 cars refuel? Well, why don't they? Other motorsports do. Let's get into it, shall we?
Why don't F1 cars refuel? It was rather a long time ago now, but yes, Formula 1 had a long period where the cars needed to refuel during a race. In fact, the first ever time an F1 car stopped during a race for more juice was the 1982 Austrian Grand Prix, when the Brabham team decided it would be quicker to start the race with half a tank of fuel. This lasted all the way up until 2010, when the FIA ruled that you could only change tyres and make tweaks and repairs at pit stops. When refueling was allowed, you had almighty battles of strategy on the pit wall between teams, with each of them trying to guess how much fuel the rest of the teams had put into their cars, and it was basically a constant game of bluffing, especially when qualifying included setting your fastest lap with race fuel. To the hardcore F1 fan, this was enthralling to watch and really added an extra dimension to the race. So why did they scrap it? It came down to two major factors really, cost and safety. Back then in 2009, and well, I guess still to this day, there was a constant push towards saving as much money as possible to make the F1 circus go round. It was reported by the BBC that the cost of refueling in Formula 1 was around €1 million per year for each team. When you take into account the people needed to look after the equipment, move it around, construction of it, and so on, you can see where the costs rack up. That's not even taking into consideration what would be needed in this day and age to develop an up-to-scratch fueling rig that would have to meet all kinds of additional safety requirements. Big dog teams like Mercedes and Red Bull probably wouldn't even notice $1 million going out of their accounts. But for others that are fighting for survival each year in F1, like Williams for example, every single penny counts. The second factor was safety. One of the most iconic and quite frankly scary pictures in all of Formula 1 was from the 1994 German Grand Prix when Jos Verstappen's car caught fire after fuel was spilt and the entire car went up in flames. Fortunately, all the pit crew and Jos himself were wearing fireproof overalls similar to what firefighters use. This one incident wasn't the sole reason for refueling being banned though, but incidents continue to rack up with teams and drivers wanting to be stationary for as little time as possible.
Makes sense.
Sometimes they would leave their pit boxes too early and end up ripping the entire fuel hose off and dragging it along the pit lane still attached to the car. Felipe Massa's Singapore 2008 comes to mind as one example. Of course, it adds an element of suspense and drama for the viewer seeing an F1 car come in to refuel, but in the end it wasn't really worth the added risk. A lot of F1 fans out there would argue that refueling made the races much more entertaining. And yes, granted, there were a few iconic moments, such as in 2004, when Michael Schumacher sensationally won the French Grand Prix with a 4-stop strategy. Any excuse to bring up the love of my life, Schumi. But there were also a lot of races where it didn't really impact the end result at all. In fact, if refueling was to be brought back to the modern era of F1 cars, it would have less of an impact on strategy than it used to. With the fuel tanks holding 100 kilograms maximum, they used to hold 180 kilograms, the difference between a heavy fueled up car and a light car would be much smaller. Remember that 0.3 seconds per lap is around the time lost for every 10 kilograms of fuel. Of course, there is the argument from drivers and fans alike that it would enable the cars to go faster, but the harsh reality is, one, nobody apart from the fans studying the timing screen would really notice, and two, refueling really isn't the issue with today's modern F1 cars. People love to refer to the good old days, but fail to remember the 75% of average or below races and only focus on the classics. It's easily done. I do it myself too, don't worry. However, the new regulations are coming in next year for 2022, and they focused in on the areas that really will affect the racing. I'm hopeful, guys and girls. Are you? There's one more reason I believe why refueling hasn't come back, and that's the fans.
Hasn't really made much of
Formula
a difference,
1 relies on bringing in new fans every single year, which is a fantastic segue to remind new viewers here to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Love ya. And the element of refueling in races could be somewhat confusing. I know you hardcore lot that are watching this will be saying something along the lines of, "Confusing? What are you talking about? It's the easiest thing ever to understand." But unfortunately, and I hate to say this, F1 don't really care about the 2% hardcore, they care about the casuals. With fuel loads being different, cars would pit at different times and a lot of overtakes would happen in the stops. Don't get me wrong, I enjoyed certain elements of this where a driver would be slightly heavier on fuel than their rival and push like crazy at the end of a stint to try and jump them. But not everyone did. Overtakes, drama, chaos. That's pretty much in a nutshell what general audiences want. There you have it, why F1 cars don't refuel anymore. Would you like to see refueling back in Formula 1? Let us know in the comment section.
Yeah, let us know in the comment section. I'm a NASCAR watcher. You guys know that by now. I watch NASCAR, and yeah, they refuel depending on the length of the race, three to five times, if not more. And yeah, sometimes they take a little splash. Sometimes they take like glug. So yeah, I mean that's part of the pit strategy in NASCAR. I kind of wish Formula One cars refueled. I didn't realize they didn't. I figured that they'd get like a quick splash when they're in there getting the tires changed. But yeah, it's kind of hard to get a splash of fuel at 3-second pit stop. So yeah, I found this one very fascinating. I hope you guys did too. With that being said, I want to thank you all for watching. Stay safe and don't forget to wash your hands. Bye.